case. I haven't told you anything about what's going on here. Can you confirm that? Chip would say, yes, Ryan, you have not told me anything. But the question is, yeah, maybe it's true and they're not lying that Ryan didn't tell him anything, but how much did the production company tell Chip Coffey at a time? Now, the one thing that was interesting about Chip Coffey, and this was never really hidden, as soon as Chip Coffey entered the episode 2 there and became a staple of the show, he was so popular, you go online, you would Google psychic medium Chip Coffey, and you would see that his background prior to this was that he was an actor, which always made it very questionable. Gee, your psychic medium in the show, his trade is acting. So, are we buying that he's a psychic medium, or are we always supposed to question whether or not he's acting? And then now you have to ask yourself how much he was simply told ahead of time by the production team. He knew what the storyline was supposed to be, and he just acted out what he needed to act out so everything tied together nice and neat. So the show runs for 5 years. New people come. There's some other characters. Chad Kalick eventually enters the becoming a regular on the show, and that's how the whole Chad Kalick connection ties in when we did the Chad Kalick series. And just like any good show, eventually it runs its course, and it continues no longer after 5 seasons. Now, that 5 years later, that should take us into 2012, sometime around then. And I think that makes sense with the timeline because, for me, the post-paranormal state story begins in early 2013. So the show ends, and what immediately begins is Ryan begins using Facebook to continue to promote himself and keep the PRS team, the Paranormal Research Society, going, just now without the television show. So Ryan begins doing different things. First, he's selling autographed copies of the DVDs, merchandise, things like that to fans. He's doing chat rooms, and he's beginning to set up investigations around the country. So basically, I remember one day I just saw online, for a fee, you can join Ryan Buell and the PRS investigative team on a live investigation at it was called, let's see here, let me pull up my email. It's called the Brookstown Inn, which was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I saw that, and I immediately just jumped right on it. I signed up, I paid my fee, took a little road trip, drove down to Winston-Salem for the weekend, and I got to meet them in person. And at the time, I wasn't so much really interested. I really didn't kind of care about the investigation itself. It wasn't like I was excited about going ghost hunting. To me, it was almost exclusively just neat, be like, wow, here's a TV show that I fell in love with and watched for, pretty faithfully for 5 years, and now I'm getting the opportunity to pretty much just go meet these people in real life, spend a weekend with them, and do the thing that they did on the show and interact with them doing that. It wasn't super expensive, and the cost covered the hotel stay. It was actually reasonably affordable, and so I saw that and immediately just jumped on it and did it. So at this point, I didn't really research into any of the previous events like this that Ryan had set up with other people. I just saw this, signed up, paid for it, and drove down and did it. And this is where things begin getting weird. So let's start day one. Get down there, and it was supposed to be that evening. It was supposed to, for me at least, it was supposed to start with a meet and greet with Ryan and his team. Now, when I got down there, of course, there were other people that had come in from around the country, and they were saying how I guess they paid for a VIP pass, so they had paid a higher sum of money for a VIP experience. But as a part of that experience, they were supposed to enjoy lunch that day with Ryan. So they basically got down there earlier than me, and they were supposed to meet Ryan and his team at a local restaurant. They went, and Ryan never showed up, and no one else from the team ever showed up. So those people had paid for an experience that suddenly didn't happen, and they ended up just eating by themselves. Now, this is early 2013. Basically, going back and looking at my records, I signed up for the trip in February, and it looks like the actual trip itself was late March or early April. I don't have the exact date, but it was either late March or early April 2013. Now, at some point between the show going off air and this trip, the news had come out. Ryan said that he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Now, pancreatic cancer is usually pretty terminal. Now, by the time this trip comes around, Ryan is basically, I think at this point, telling us all that he, is undergoing treatment and stuff like that. So, they basically said that night, "Oh, sorry that Ryan couldn't come have lunch with you, because he's just not feeling well today. He just left the doctors today for treatment, and he's not feeling well." And then basically that evening, Ryan was supposed to just do a meet and greet with all of us, and he didn't show up for the meet and greet that night either. And again, the reason was Ryan's not feeling well due to the treatment he just had today for his pancreatic cancer. And it's like, well, you can't really complain about that. No one can say, "This is BS. He should be down here." It's like, he's supposedly dealing with something very life-threatening. It's amazing that he's even here doing this for us. Now, the next morning, this would be Saturday now, if I remember correctly. I think it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. So Saturday morning, or the next day, day two. Day two began. We were supposed to get together in a room, of course, with Ryan and the team, and there was supposed to be a special speaker. We were going to basically be introduced to a guest celebrity speaker who turned out to be Aaron Houdini, who I forget the exact relationship, but basically is related to the Harry Houdini. So Aaron Houdini comes in, he introduces himself. He's basically a magician, escape artist, basically does what Harry did. So Aaron Houdini is essentially the Harry Houdini of today, just essentially not nearly as well-known and famous. So Aaron gives us a talk. He talked for about an hour, and his whole talk was about all the fake people in the paranormal community. So for an hour, Aaron Houdini gives this entire talk about how there's all these people that do fake investigations, fake haunted houses, and they just do all this fake stuff within the paranormal community. And I remember at the time thinking, boy, what a really awful topic. We all just paid money to come to a paranormal investigation, and you're talking about how so much of this stuff is fake, which is just a bad topic to time in. It's just to bring in. It's kind of just bad association and just the wrong topic. And the main person here we're here to see just keeps not showing up. And that morning too, he didn't show up. So yeah, we still have yet to meet Ryan. So anyways, at that point, we go out for lunch, and we come back later, and we get ready for the evening's investigation. So Saturday night, it was supposed to is the official investigation of what's going on, I believe, is how I recall it. And I might be wrong on the timing of some of this, but this is just how I recall it. So now, that evening, we're supposed to investigate with Ryan. So basically, the reason we were at this particular place is that the inn that we were staying in was supposed to be rumored to be haunted. That's why they chose it, and we were there to investigate whether the inn was haunted or not. And that evening, I do recall that they had cameras set up, just like they did in the TV show. Sergi, who was the equipment tech in the show, was running the equipment and the video cameras, the feed of the computers, and recording everything. So I do remember a hallway set up with cameras, but it was only just basically a hallway with like 2 cameras. That's all that was set up. I remember thinking to myself, like, even this seems strange. They don't really have much set up, almost like they're not really trying to investigate anything. Now, in the show, and this was way back in Season 1, one of the things that, I think it was in Season 1, but in one of the episodes of Paranormal State, one of the things that they did, no, maybe this wasn't, I apologize, I don't think it was in season 1, but it was in a episode of Paranormal State. Ryan and Serge did an experiment at one point with Chip Coffey. It was called the Gansfeld experiment. But basically, what the experiment was done with Chip Coffey, who was the psychic medium in the show, where they kind of did a sort of deprivation type experiment where, in order to enhance his psychic abilities at a particular investigation, they put him in a room, they put they were ping pong balls. Imagine taking a ping pong ball and cutting it in half, and they put it over his eyes and taped it. So basically, he couldn't see, and then they put headphones on him with just white noise, and then had these red lights on in the room, so that basically it was supposed to kind of desensitize his seeing and his hearing, so that he wouldn't be picking up or be distracted, and without those distractions, that his psychic abilities would be more focused, so he could figure out what was going on at that particular investigation. So one of the things that they did is every one of us took our turn for about 5 minutes doing the Gansfeld experiment. We had the ping pong balls put on us, the red lights fired up, and the headphones with white noise. Of course, none of us really sensed anything or anything like that. Then we were told to just kind of walk around the hotel and see if we saw anything weird. And that was really it. And I just thought, I thought we would be working with you guys. We still haven't met Ryan. And of course, that evening, Ryan couldn't join us because he still wasn't feeling well from his pancreatic cancer treatment. Now, I did catch a glimpse, and this was the only glimpse. That night, I kind of peeked into a room where Serge had his monitor set up to monitor the video cameras that were set up in the hallway. And I caught a glimpse of Ryan. He was walking with a cane, and that was pretty much it. That's the only time I saw him the whole weekend. Then that evening, after we were done investigating, which was just absolutely nothing, we didn't really do anything. Basically the climax of the whole reason we were there, and nothing had really happened. We realized that Ryan was broadcasting online, so he was live online promoting basically a new online community he had created where you, for a fee, you could sign up and become a member for a fee. And he was basically using the fact that we were there as promoting how much fun joining this community would be. And they were just like showing us there. And it's almost like we were just being used to promote something else that Ryan's doing to make money. Yet Ryan could care less about us and never bothered to even say hello, join us for anything. And that's it for night 2. Now, the final day we wake up, and the final day we were supposed to meet with Ryan and go over the evidence from the previous night. Well, this final morning, once again, Ryan did not show up. So as a backup plan, plan B, I guess they must have asked Aaron Houdini to come and give a talk to us once again. Because I guess they really had nothing planned for the final morning other than Ryan going over the evidence, and since he wasn't going to come talk to us, they just asked Aaron to talk to us again. I am not making it up. I swear on my life, 100% true. Aaron Houdini, for an hour that morning, gave the exact same talk. We sat there and listened to Aaron Houdini, word for word, give the same talk. Not only was that in itself one of the stupidest things I'd ever been a part of, one of the biggest hour wastes of my life, the fact that the talk was about how things are faked and staged in the paranormal community to basically just get your money was now hammered to us 2 days in a row. And that, my friends, was it. That was my experience, and then I drove all the way back home to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the whole time in the car ride thinking to myself, what just happened? This was the weirdest weekend of my life. Was this all just a giant lie? Were we used to promote something else Ryan was doing? Is he really even sick? What is going on? Why did he not even bother? Why did we never meet him? None of it made any sense. So as soon as I got home, I immediately got online and started looking up if there was reviews from other events. And then all of a sudden, I begin to see all these comments for other events, the same thing.